guys, welcome back to Clock Country. I'm Andrew, and today we're talking about something different. Today we're talking about color grading. So I'm not like a colorist at all. In fact, I would just call this a hobby, but I do need to color grade my footage because I always shoot in log, in a log profile. So if I don't colorize it or do color grading, it will just be gray. So the reason why I'm even doing this video is a few weeks ago, this company called Dehancer, they reached out to me. They wanted me to do kind of a tutorial or a review of their product, their plugin. They had seen my documentary I made about like last year about these two artists. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. They saw that and they liked what I had done with it, and so they wanted me to kind of give their product a try. So just full disclosure, they're not paying me or anything, and they won't like see what I'm gonna say about their product, but I have joined their affiliate program. So if you do like what you see here and you're interested in trying it out, or you want to purchase it, please use my coupon code and you can get 10% off your order. Anyways, I kind of thought up a project to do with this because their product is kind of like a plugin that you can use to apply like film emulations to your footage, and they do it through like a really scientific method. You can check out like that info on their website. They have like big blog post about how they developed all their different kind of film emulations, and it's film emulations like still camera film and also motion picture film. So there's a lot of different stocks to choose from. I think like over 60. Anyways, it gave me this idea to go out and make a video about someone shooting CineStill 800, because CineStill 800 like is very kind of unique film, and you can, like, when you see it, you always kind of, you know what it is. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any CineStill anywhere at all, and so that night we just kind of opted for Lomography 800, which also has like, not a super unique kind of look to it, but it does have halation around like bright points and stuff. So Dehancer actually has like a halation kind of element on their plugins, so I thought it was a good opportunity to kind of check it out and see how it went. So anyways, I made a video called Lomography 800 featuring Seb Colazo, and you should definitely check that out. If you haven't watched that yet, you should pause this, go watch that, and then come back. And in that video, my whole goal was kind of to look at his photos that he took and kind of grade my footage to match kind of the look of the Lomography 800 and see if I could do that. So anyways, I don't know how well I did do that, but it was a fun kind of thing to do, and I'm actually going to show you how I kind of did that using DaVinci Resolve, which is what I always use, and Dehancer. Now, there's a note about that, like Dehancer is actually used for not just DaVinci, but like Final Cut, and even like you can use it on still images like Photoshop and Lightroom and stuff. So it's definitely like an interesting kind of package. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, let me get my... So some things you should know, just because this is more a technical video. I have a MacBook Pro 14-inch M1 Pro with 16 gigabytes of memory. Yeah, that's a little bit important because as you'll see, Dehancer definitely is a little bit it's tougher on my system. You know, this computer is not really great for like high-end video editing or like big jobs and stuff, but for me, for YouTube, it works fine. And normally I'm not like I said before, I keep my grades pretty basic, very easy and very basic, which is something I kind of like too, because otherwise it'll take forever. I've done more complicated grades, like for instance on the documentary that I did. Okay, I'm just gonna pick one of these clips that is kind of easy to see the relationship between it and the photograph. So here is the clip, just here. And you can see it kind of play through. and that's it. That's log footage. And the camera that I'm using is a Canon R5C, and it's shooting in CLOCK3, and you'll see why that's important in 1 second. Anyways, this is the photo that I'm kind of working off of. So you can see up here in the where this white highlight is, you can see there's a little bit of halation, and it's making it a little bit red tint. You can probably also see it in here too. And then overall, this image is kind of greenish, has a greenish tint to it. It has some grain to it. Your classic kind of, I don't know, 800 speed medium format image. So this is what we're going for. Let's go back. So what I do first usually is I'm gonna add some nodes, and this is in the color tab of DaVinci Resolve. Let's see, we'll add one, we'll add another one too. And we'll go to the second one here. We're gonna go to OpenFX and go all the way down, and that's where you find your Dehancer Pro film emulation. I'm gonna just plop that right on top. This is kind of like the same way that I would make a color space transform node, if you know what that is. This is where Dehancer kind of is really nice and acts like that kind of color space transform, because you can go up here and search for your camera. So I'm gonna choose camera, and I'm gonna go to vendor is Canon and select. They don't have my camera, so the closest thing is R5. And then we will go down here to log 3 cinema gamut, which is what I shot in. And that is gonna already give me like a color correction, and you can see. What you also might notice is like the grain is super heavy, and we're gonna fix that. Let's go through this Dehancer a little bit. So you've got exposure comp, temperature comp, tint comp, compensation, defringe. I'm not gonna play with any of those. I'm gonna go down here to the film. Now this is where you have all your film emulations. It's interesting that they have all these film looks, and in combination with that, they also have your kind of cinema film too. So you can use this in a really creative way, which is kind of cool. But anyways, for our purpose, we're gonna pick Kodak Portrait 800 because that's probably the closest thing to Lomography 800. There's a push-pull option. You can see here, I'm not gonna do any push-pull, or maybe we could go a little bit up, but I'll leave it there. Then you've got black point and white point. So you can kind of play with where your black point and white point are gonna be, but I'm actually not gonna play with it too much there. I'll show you why in a minute. Then we're gonna go to print. Now this is more important. I'm gonna have it print out at the Kodak print film here. And you can mess with the target white if you want it to be warmer or cooler. And your exposure, I'm gonna raise this up just a little bit. Again, we're going back to this image to see what it looks like, but at the same time, you'll notice that this is like pretty light in Sev's image, and our film is kind of darker than that. I'm actually gonna keep it a little bit dark because I want it to be consistent with the rest of the video. And not all of his images are super bright. Some of them are more dark than others. So let's stay around this kind of brightness, and we'll adjust that a little bit differently later. The tonal contrast you can play with here and get like a little bit less contrast, which I'm gonna do. Knock it down a little bit more. Color density is gonna be how much it's almost like vibrance in Photoshop and Lightroom. And then saturation's at 100. And I'm gonna leave that around here. As you can see, I'm just kind of playing with it and looking at it and tweaking as I go, which is pretty much how I do everything when it comes to color grading. That's why I'm not professional at all. Let's see. Now we're gonna come down here to film grain. Now film grain it's hard to see on YouTube, and in fact, I'm probably not gonna add very much film grain to future projects at all because YouTube kind of has like a noise reduction like algorithm when you upload, and so it kind of disappears it anyways. But this is far too grainy for how our image actually looks, because we've got more of a fine grain because the negative's so big. So we'll go back here and play with this film grain. We're gonna put the amount down. We're gonna turn the film resolution up, and then we're gonna start taking this grain down. I'm gonna take it down on the shadows, the midtones, the highlights. I'm gonna turn the chroma down, and now let's look at it. It's much more subtle, and I think it's gonna kind of emulate that medium format look a little bit better. I would say we could actually probably go down a little bit more in some of those, even in the midtones, and that amount. I think that looks a little bit nicer. Alright, so we're going to go into halation. Now this is going to change this image a good amount, and you'll be able to see that halation effect in this image around these white parts. We need to make sure that it is enabled, and that goes for everything. You can disable the film grain for a little bit if you want to, just to see how it looks on and off. It's kind of a nice kind of way to double check what you're doing. Anyways, we're gonna turn this halation on. Local diffusion is gonna be how bloomy it is around those kind of hot spots. Global is gonna expand it out a little bit more. So I'm gonna pump this up just a little bit, but not too much. I'm gonna take down the global a little bit. Let's check the image. Go back here. It's less than what I'm doing here. Also, the hue is a little bit different. This is looking pretty yellow to me, so I'm gonna try to make that a little bit more red, like that. There we go. Again, like, this is up to you, you know, like everything, it's open to your creativity. If you feel like this scene needs more halation because just to kind of push that mood throughout your film, then that's what you should do. But at the same time, it's, you know, if you're trying to be accurate to the photo that you're trying to copy, then maybe you should knock it down in this case. So I'm gonna go back down a little bit on the global, amplify, it kind of pumps it up a little bit more. We could actually go down on global and local and amplify it a little bit. See how that gets us. It's looking closer. And again, I'm just focusing in on this bright spot. I almost think it's like a little bit more than the actual photograph, so we can tone it down just a little bit. Okay, so let's take a look at our image now. Let's loop it through, and you'll see my frames are starting to skip. I'm on a 1080 timeline with no proxies mode on yet, but my frames are starting to skip because the processing is hard on this for having the grain and the halation. Next thing we have is bloom. Bloom is going to kind of it's like putting a diffusion filter on your lens. And if we go back and look at this image, you don't really see too much bloom in it, so I think I'm gonna actually skip that. Something I didn't do in the original when I first made this is add any vignette, but I might actually do a little bit here, just for example. A vignette, of course, just makes your corners kind of dark, or it can make them light, whatever you want. I think it's really a useful tool actually to use, because you can kind of focus the center of the image a little bit more if you have like kind of a wide open shot like this with many people going around and a little kind of a lot of movement all over the frame. Also, even in this, you can barely see where Sev is. He's up against the pole, so that's something you could kind of go into further with some kind of power windows and stuff if you're familiar with DaVinci Resolve, and kind of highlight him more if you want to. Film breath, I'm not going to use it, and gate weave I'm also not going to use, but what they do is kind of emulate like if the film was kind of the inconsistencies of film, like when you're actually filming with film. And then gate weave is also the same thing, like if the film is kind of moving around in the gate. And again, I'm not going to use those because I was filming on a digital camera and I'm not really trying to emulate motion picture film. I'm just trying to emulate his actual photo film. Now I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to add another node, and I'm going to kind of edit this image from my first node here and just kind of knock some of these levels around. I'm going to bring up this a little bit in the shadows and bring it, actually I'll keep it right here. I usually keep all my highlights at 896 here. I don't want them to get too bright and washed out. I think it looks much more digital, so we're going to keep it there. And then what I'm going to do is this tent, I want it to be a little bit more green, so I'm going to add a little bit of green to it, probably just about that much. Maybe a little bit of blue, or not really, because that doesn't have that much blue. We're actually going to go a little bit warmer and get this look over here. Again, of course the photograph is lighter than my image, but I like how it looks so far. So I've got some extra nodes here. I actually could have put the temperature adjustment into this one, and then this last one can be used for final adjustments if you want to. One more thing that I might do on this would be to just kind of do a little power window on him and get him a little bit more of a highlight, just to focus people's attention on what is actually happening in this video. Yeah, this kind of thing is a little bit more work than I usually like to do, and also you know, it's really you're taking it to another level, but I guess it can look nice. So what I just did was put a power window over Sev, and then I tracked it, and that way this window is going to stay on him. And what I can do now is I can lighten him up in that window and kind of just make him a little bit more of a feature in the frame. And yeah, I mean, it's not even that apparent, but maybe it looks a little bit better. That's kind of how we go from taking the image, a log image, and making it into something that kind of emulates the film that Sev shot. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. And also, if you are a video maker, an editor, someone who likes to grade their footage, please let me know what your techniques are, and I'd love to start more of a conversation. I guess just going back to Dehancer, what I found with Dehancer is it's kind of like it's an easy way to just quickly change that log footage with that first step of just your source, your input, getting your camera, getting your gamut like set up, and it automatically, it's like applying a LUT for your camera. Gets you set up, but then allowing you just to expand on it creatively using all those film looks. I'm definitely going to use it. Like, I've already used it in, I'm using it right now on this footage, but I'm going to use it on probably some more projects for sure, because it's pretty easy to use, I think, and you can kind of contain it all in one node if you want to, which I think is a really nice feature and can kind of speed up your workflow if that's what you're doing. So anyways, again, thank you for watching today, and until next time, this is Clock Country. I'm Andrew. We'll talk to you later. Bye bye.